What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. When it comes to mock building, I've really tried to step up my lighting game over the past couple of years, and Mimban is no exception. I've got the secret tunnel lit up as well as the landing pad, but there's still one more very important thing that needs to be illuminated: the Imperial base. However, I can't figure out the lighting until the roof's on, and that's a whole nother challenge. Oh, and I ran into the weirdest issue I've ever seen in my 26-ish years of building with Lego. So if you're ready to get lit, execute order 66 on that like button, and let's get building. I've been working hard over the last couple of weeks to get this base ready for the roof. I've been practicing this half circle technique for a while with the intent of using it on the base, and now it's time to see if my plans will actually come to fruition. For that, I'm gonna need a lot of ball joints. I love these 2x2 ball joints. I used them extensively during my Kato Nemoidia series, and they were key in helping hold up a massive city as well as give it its curved shape. They have a really stiff connection and can hold most shapes under a decent amount of pressure, making them the perfect piece to build the roof. I'm gonna make a few long strips made up of 2x4 chunks, which are just big enough to hold 6x6 tiles, which will be the exterior panels. The ball joints, when connected, add just enough length so that all the tiles fit together snugly and only have a small gap between them when I bend the strip into a curve, which I can fix later. Now I can take the strip and bend it into place on the base and see what needs to be adjusted. Everything looks good and holds up how I wanted. However, there's a problem where the roof and base walls meet. Because the ball joint is one brick high, it raises the roof up and leaves an ugly gap here. I want a smooth, almost seamless transition from roof to walls, so I'm going to pull up a row of brick to lower the roof. After some experimenting, I found one brick was too deep of a step down, but if I raised things up a bit by putting down a row of plate, the roof and wall can touch, completely hiding the ball joints. I then filled in the rest of the empty space around the roof and doorway area, and now I can adjust the rest of the base walls and start adding more of the roof. It did take some adjusting, but so far everything's coming together smoothly. I didn't have much of an idea of where or how the roof would fit onto the base, so only needing to remove one layer of brick and add a layer of plate to have this good of a connection is a win in my book. All the strips are in place, but the panels are looking pretty disjointed with lots of gaps, so it's time to secure everything in place. Starting with the foundation. I ran some 2x4 brick in between the ball joints and connected everything with 1x tile. To connect said strips together and straighten out the tiles, I'm using a bunch of plates to connect the undersides. This will help straighten them out and make everything stronger. Because of the curve, there are now gaps between the tiles, but this modified 1x2 covers up the gaps and still allows me to bend and move the roof. It never ceases to amaze me how seemingly unrelated Lego pieces can work together so well to create such cool looking cohesive builds. Lego is truly a magical system. The base wall sticks out in front of the roof a bit at the entrance because I wasn't able to put the first row of tile close enough to match it. So I need to add some 2x6 patches to extend the roof so everything is flush. The 2x2 ball joints do hang over the walls, so I'm going to build some crown molding pieces to cover them up and have less of a blocky transition. I stuck some cheese slopes on a 1x8 plate and put some half pegs on the bottom, that way I can flip it upside down and connect it to the underside of the brick. With the roof starting to come together, I can set my sights on the final portion of the base, the command center. The hub where all the higher ups and visiting officers come to plan, get battle reports, and have the occasional game night.
Oh, come on!
I'm starting with this big slab that will act as a balcony of sorts jutting out over the back wall of the base. This is where the turbo lifts lead to. It looks a bit blocky now, so I'm going to add a row of slopes along the front side to smooth things out a bit. I went through a few design iterations for this area. At first, the command center was going to stretch the entire length of the base. That was of course before I started building and saw how big the base was going to be. A slab big enough to span that entire area and be strong enough to hold a bunch of minifigs and computers would be so heavy and would need large supports underneath to hold it up, which I didn't really want to add since they'd get in the way of the ground floor. Plus, why on earth would I need a command center that big? As you'll see in a bit, I can fit plenty of computers and holo tables on this one, and so making it bigger would have just been a waste of parts and time. Plus, once the roof goes in, most of the command center would have been covered and inaccessible anyways. I cleaned out my drawer of printed tiles and made as many cool looking computers, screens, and other gadgets as I could. I even included a giant phone for those really important calls.
Hello?
It's hello.
Oh, hello?
This will also be the hangout spot for my YouTube members. If you want to be included in the Battle of Mimban, check out the link I pinned in the comments. All tiers get a minifig of their choice to represent them in the build. Plus, you'll get access to other great perks like Coconut's Kitchen, gaming streams, and exclusive hauls. Though you will also have to sit through the occasional Coconut rant. I don't want the terrain to fall any further behind, so I decided to quickly finish up as much of the front of the base as I could, starting with the walkway. Just adding cheese slopes to the sides, then placing the mud detailing and filling in the rest of the space with light blue scrape parts. Directly in front of the opening is going to be about as exciting as the final battle in Rise of Skywalker, since all the vehicles coming in and out would pack down the dirt pretty flat, so stopping to smell the flowers here or build a moisture sensor is about as smart as jumping over someone who's got the high ground. I couldn't be happier to finally have the base roof started. I was laying in bed stressed at night, wondering how it was going to come together and if my idea would actually work at such a large scale. I've never spanned such a gap with this arch technique, but it's very sturdy and holds the half circle shape perfectly. It looks much better now that the strips are connected and each square is in position. One underrated feature of this style of roof is it looks impressive from the outside and the inside. The exposed arch beams add a sense of realism and help this feel more like an industrial base. Unfortunately, I only had about 12 of those modified 1x2s, so there's still a lot of gaps in between the tiles. I'm gonna need to order in a whopping 400 more if I want the gaps to be covered the whole way. To make matters worse, I only had enough tile and ball joints to build this much of the roof. So I never thought I'd have to say this again after building Cato Nemoidia, but I need to order in more ball joints. All these parts needed has my wallet quaking in its boots. But it's a good thing I started the roof on the front, because that leaves the back open for me to work on the command center. I was installing the slab at the back of the base when I ran into one of the weirdest issues I have ever seen while building. The slab connects to the base just fine over here, but as you move to the other side, the bricks stop fitting together, and on this end, the slab is longer than the wall by a few millimeters. How does that even happen? They're the same amount of studs long, and yet there's too much of a difference in the length for me to force the bricks to connect even when I squeeze the wall inward. I am truly perplexed, and I'm just gonna have to save this for another day when the Lego physics aren't broken. Inside the command center, I added a hollow setup of this compound. Here's the base and landing pad, and out in the wastelands, you can see some enemies gathering for an attack. Problems aside, this will be a great place for officers to plan and oversee operations from the safety of the base. Although this guy looks like he's been hanging around the Mimban smokestacks a little too much, if you know what I mean. The terrain in front of the base is looking real good. It's nice to be able to knock out more big patch to the ground, and now the entire walkway is done. Turns out I do have enough space for the Juggernaut to fit in the base, but getting it out would be kind of a problem because of the trench, so it's just gonna stay where it is. I think it's time for some easy stuff after that command center glitch, so let's take a look at my latest haul as I finish up more Mimbanese Rebels. This will be my last minifig haul for Mimbanese parts, and all I needed was a head and some paints. So of course I took advantage and bought some other stuff too. The head's so aggressive it tried to roll off the table and hide, but it's gotta be quicker than that to escape me. I'm really happy I came across this Mimbanese Rebel designed by Alex Astor, because it was such a great template to build my warband off of. I also picked up some chains for the barbed wire line, and well, I just couldn't help myself and cleaned out the store of any Gungan related material. There were a couple body armor pieces as well I grabbed, which I used for my Sentinel AI droids and human defense forces. If you want to see what I'm cooking up with those, check out my second channel, Coconut's Kingdom. This black body armor does have this ugly printing on the back though, which I have to erase. What's the point of being a super secret anything if you have it in large gold letters on your back? For this next rebel, I'm using the body of a Guavan guard. To go with that, I made a little combat backpack full of stuff needed to spring the perfect ambush. I like to mix up the look of each fig just a little so they'll look more like a ragtag bunch of fighters. The backpacks and guns will also help them not look as primitive. The last guy is going to get another camo backpack. These are handy when the rebels need to hit the deck and blend in with their surroundings as Imperial aircraft passes overhead. Now I've got a mean group of rebels ready to blow stuff up and disappear into the smoke. Now that the roof is in, I can finally figure out how to wire it. I've got two of these bar lights from Light My Bricks. They look just like large fluorescent lights, which is the perfect fit for the base. They'll connect to this expansion board, which allows me to power multiple lights from one source. That source will be this small battery box. My goal is to have 3 to 4 lights in the base, so I'll probably use 2 battery boxes to power everything. I have 2 design options for the lights. The first is just going to be a simple bar that connects directly to the roof. The second will be a bar as well. This one will be suspended on 2 chains. The chain allows the light to point directly at the ground, unlike the light that is directly connected to the roof, which points to the side at a slight angle. With that out of the way, it's time to see if this lighting setup actually works. I now have enough Mimban rebels to set up the scenes I want. There'll be a squad hiding in the shadows of the tank out in the wastelands, covering one of their buddies as he pulls out the controls and hot wires the missile pods back online in order to ambush the Juggernaut as it passes by. Another rebel will be in the tunnel drilling his way to the Imperial trench. I gave him a special uniform and hard hat with ear protection since I'm sure it's not quiet in there. And I'll probably have a Rhodian behind hauling out the dirt. The rebellion was full of all types of alien species after all. I know it's not a lot of soldiers, but this was never going to be a full-on assault of the base, and I think small small bands carrying out guerrilla warfare tactics will be more realistic. I may also have a rebel sniper on top of the hill monitoring the movements around the base. Illuminating the Imperial base was kind of a long shot for most of the series since I wasn't sure what lights to use or where they would go or how I would hide the wires and battery boxes, but I decided to just go for it this week and figure out the rest as I go. I still haven't decided which of these to use, so let me know in the comments if you prefer the chain or no chain option to hold the light. Looking at the illuminated base compound makes me so happy I decided to go this route because the base looks much better lit up, and now even stuff at the back will be easy to see. Plus it'll balance out the lights of the landing pad, helping the mock look more evenly lit. I was determined to go into this week and get some major progress done on the base, which is exactly what happened. Now that the roof has been designed and tested, I can literally have the entire thing done in an afternoon once the parts come in. And oh, remember that crazy issue I ran into at the back of the base? I fixed it, but you'll have to wait until next week to see what happened. There are only about 2 more of these updates left, so it's time to buckle down and get some serious building done as I sprint to the finish line. But that's a wrap for this one. Don't forget to let me know what you think of Mimban in the comments, and I will catch you next time. But until then, happy building.